Well, innovation in very general terms means bringing something new to an entity, to an object. This object could be physical, like a pen. It could be tangible, something I can touch, like a chair. But it also could be intangible, like a business process. Just think about this idea of ordering food on the internet and 42 minutes later it's arriving at your doorstep. That food delivery thing exists for many, many years. In some countries, literally for hundreds of years. But the innovation is that I'm now connecting two parties, the customer and the restaurant, with some kind of application, some kind of app on the cell phone. And in between, I also have the delivery service guys and I have the payment guys. So bringing those parties together, that is not trivial, but at the same time, it creates a new process, a new way of doing business. And that is for me an example of innovation. Yes, the process of getting food delivered to your house or to your office is old. But the process of ordering it, automatically getting paid and delivered, potentially from different restaurants, that is a new thing. And that is an example of bringing something new to an existing process. It's totally different. So continuous improvement or continual improvement with regard to a management system is related to the continuous improvement of that management system. Not necessarily the product that is managed by that system. So let's make an example. An organization has a quality management system for the manufacture, for the design, manufacture, and distribution of fasteners. Well, those fasteners are already defined by some kind of ISO standard. The alloys are specified by the client. So there's really nothing that can be improved upon in that product. However, the underlying quality management system, or should I say the management system that is governing the manufacture, definitely might need to be improved because of insufficient or incorrect internal audit processes, incorrect insufficient purchasing processes, and so on and so forth, right? But the actual manufacture and design of the product is most likely already well established. Now, is it potentially possible to use a new kind of machine or machinery to manufacture those fasteners? Yes, of course. But this is not continuous improvement of the management system. Now, if I find this new machine able to manufacture those fasteners with, I don't know, 10% less time, if I'm able to manufacture not just one fastener at a time, but maybe two fasteners at a time, and therefore cut manufacturing time even in half, well, that is innovation. That is bringing something new to that manufacturing process. So is there a connection? Maybe yes, but most likely not. Honestly, I think most companies, most individuals are innovative by nature. Although there's also the notion that says humans hate change. But fundamentally, we always try to do something better, faster, cheaper. But the roadblocks to innovation are usually related to the expectation that these changes must be fast, and sometimes innovation projects may take a little bit longer. And my prime example for that would be the famous lubricant oil WD-40. Usually we are not referring to particular brand names, but let's say in this case we can do that, because rumor is that the 40 indicates that there were 39 failed attempts. And that in itself tells me something about the kind of personality, the kind of people that are involved in innovation. These people have some kind of an idea, but they also don't give up if they're not able to be successful the first time around. Many of us on a regular basis try new things. And yes, we all know that usually there is some kind of a challenge. Well, sometimes people give up after the first attempt. Some people give up after the second attempt. In the interest of full disclosure, I needed 3 attempts to pass my Algebra 101 class at university. But hey, I got my master's sooner or later, and now 35 years later I'm sitting here. That is for me the example of no. If you fail the first time, okay. Relax, sit down, analyze the situation and improve and change and do it again. That is one of the challenges in modern organizations, because organizations are on a regular basis focused on the quarterly results, the annual results, and this kind of thinking does not allow for failure. There needs to be some kind of success. The ISO 56001 is a normal management system standard. And I say normal because many people are very familiar with the ISO 9001, the ISO 14001, the ISO 45000 series, and maybe even ISO 27001 for information security. All those management systems are based on what is called the high-level structure. And the high-level structure is actually an ISO directive that tells standard developers what we need to consider, what we need to put into the structure of a standard. So these management system standards are all structured exactly the same way. There's always something like context of the organization. There's always something like risk management. There's always something like management responsibility and document control. There's always something like employees need to be trained. There's always something like internal audits and corrective actions. Now this ISO 56001 is no exception to that. It is exactly structured like that, but obviously focused on the area of innovation management. The typical challenges with regard to innovation management are related to what I call borrowed resources. The concept of borrowed resources comes from the fact that usually in many organizations, the people involved in the innovation project are not dedicated to that project. They are doing other things as well. So let's make an example. Let's say I'm the project manager for designing a new product, and that means obviously I need to have access to the engineering department. I need to have access to prototype manufacturing. I need to have access to the laboratory for testing the products. Well, all those functions are also involved in the day-to-day operation of designing products, manufacturing products, testing products. A laboratory is busy testing existing manufactured products. Now, if I now come in and say, hey, I have this prototype, can you also test that? Well, that leads to a couple of problems, because they may not have the procedures how to test it. They may not have the test equipment necessary to test it. And by the way, they still need to test the existing product because that needs to be shipped out to the customer today. So all of a sudden I have some kind of challenges to get those resources for my innovation project at the time when I need it. The same could be true for purchasing. Purchasing is busy identifying new suppliers. Once those suppliers have been wrote into the approved suppliers list, then they have agreements, and they push out the POs and the releases. Wonderful. For an innovation project, I may need to have new suppliers. Maybe those new suppliers are not fulfilling our usual requirements, as ISO certification is a requirement for our suppliers. Well, for the prototype, I may not need that. Later on, I may need that, but purchasing need to be now aware, well, in this particular case, I can purchase from that supplier, although they are not ISO 9001 certified. And these are the challenges a lot of organizations recognize. So it's, on one way, innovation management needs to be disciplined and needs to be followed established processes, but at the same time, the already existing established processes might be also a roadblock and a hindrance for the new projects. Thank you very much for having me. And I would like to emphasize that if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. We would be delighted to help and support you in your journey of implementing and getting your innovation management system certified. We do have classes in our SGS Academy to help organizations understand what is ISO 56001 all about.